Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Catherine Carmichael, here to discuss a story that's better than Abandoned by Disney. People liked Abandoned by Disney. I'm happy about that. There are people who hate Abandoned by Disney, and cool, whatever. Um, yeah, so I just wanted to do a series of videos saying, what stories of mine I think are better, quote unquote, than Abandoned by Disney in my subjective opinion. Sort of maybe use my channel to actually talk about my own work and maybe shine a little bit of a light on things that I think sort of maybe have fallen by the wayside uh, in lieu of worshipping a photo negative mascot. I don't know. But yeah, so just going to try to keep a positive spin on it and show what I think is better than that story in terms of my own work. So yeah, attention Goodshop customers. This is a very short story that I wrote. A short fear fic story, as you can see, pretty short. It's told entirely through announcements on the speakers in a mall. So, takes place in a mall. Takes place in the largest mall to ever exist. Maybe at some point in the future. Maybe. You'll have to decide yourself when you read it. The entire story, all the dialogue, is coming out of the speakers in the mall. So yeah, it's kind of a minimalist kind of thing. It's actually keyhole fiction, which is a term I came up with because I'm a piece of shit who wants to leave his mark on creative fiction, I guess. But yeah, keyhole fiction being a story, usually a short story, that gives you very few details and just lets you enter into an alternate world and try to figure out for yourself, what it's about along the way. It's minimalist world building. You're building a different world. You're building a different reality, building a situation that may be foreign to the reader, but you're doing it in such a way that lets the reader catch on for themselves about what's going on. You're not sitting there and writing out a big history of what's happening, what's going on, a big explanation. There's very few explanations. There instead are clues. Um, it sort of is giving the reader a chance to solve a little bit of a riddle as they go, try to figure out what this world is that they're in, what's going on, and just be along for the ride. So yeah, minimalist world building, keyhole fiction. But yeah, attention Goodshop customers. I don't want to spoil too much of it. I don't know if that really matters to anybody. If you want to read it, the link is in the description below. But yeah, told through the speakers of the mall, and the mall may be, to a certain extent, self-aware, maybe artificial intelligence type of situation going on. Some strange things going on in the mall that you can pick up on, with the clues in the announcements that are being made. This is part of what I really love to do. Is I really love world building using corporate bullshit. This is something I've done before with various projects. I don't know if you are a fan of bogleech.com. I assisted, quite controversially, assisted with an ARG that they ran at bogleech.com, which was for a fictional hamburger restaurant, a fictional fast food restaurant. And boy, I love that type of shit. That actually was something that I proposed that we do based on a previous project, which was where I had written up a description of a fake fast food restaurant that served zombie meat. So, as you can see, this is like steeped in tradition. I love, going all the way back. I love writing about fake companies and fake corporate bullshit, different things like that. Another thing you can look at is the Faceless Corporation, facelesinc.com. I don't know if I'll necessarily link that in the description below. It's like Faceless Incorporated, so INC, facelesinc.com. I have to redesign that site. I'm in the midst of redesigning it. It's going to be, instead of being a wiki, I sort of made it like an SCP style wiki, but instead of doing that, I'm going to make it more like a complete, finished, polished website that you'll have to, sort of find your way through and find hidden links and different things like that. So I'm remaking the Faceless Corporation, but enough about that bullshit. My point was that I love creating this kind of stuff. So you can see in the announcements there will be a variety of fake businesses mentioned, a variety of fake products, all different, corporate slogan type things, different things like that to get you to buy products. I don't know. There's something about it that's really fun to do. It's fun to try to make something that sounds believably hollow and corporate. I don't know why. I'll just take a look at one of the things here. Looking good, spending less? Trendy Touch has what you need. Get the perfect accessory or an entirely new style at Trendy Touch. From head to toe, Trendy Touch has anything your fashion sense desires. So yeah, corporate bullshit. Trendy Touch, as you can see, is like a clothing and accessory store. You don't have to say it. When you're writing keyhole fiction, when you're doing minimalist world building, you don't have to lay things out for everybody. You don't have to say, come shop at the Trendy Touch clothing store. Established in, 1942, this clothing store is one of the, you don't have to give that much detail and lore and, backstory. You could just say, looking good and spending less, Trendy Touch has what you need. And based on that, you know that it's sort of a cheap clothing store or a cheap accessory store, someplace that has to do with your looks. But yeah, so I guess this kind of turned more into an explanation of keyhole fiction than I was expecting. I'm just sort of rambling at this point. I'm doing these off the cuff. Basically, I should probably move on to why I think this is better than Abandoned by Disney. If you have read A Few Suggestions, which was like the prequel story for Abandoned by Disney, that was told through suggestion cards. And when I did that, people were like, my God, this is the most groundbreaking thing ever. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know about that, but I just had fun doing it. So I think that this is another thing where perhaps the way of telling the story through suggestion cards or through mall announcements maybe makes a mediocre story seem a bit more interesting. I don't know. But, yeah, I think this is better than Abandoned by Disney because it goes into creating a entirely fictitious corporation and corporate entities instead of relying on people's previous awareness of Disney. Disney has had a long and storied past with people thinking, oh, they're Satanists. Oh, Disney was a Nazi. Oh, Disney was anti-Semitic. Oh, this Disney movie was actually about this thing instead of that thing, and it's actually all this veiled, messaging and blah, blah, blah. So, there's been a lot of history of people mistrusting the Disney Corporation, and that's not something I invented by any means. That's something that I sort of rode the coattails of. That's something that was like a pre-established gimmick. So, with something like this, you get to look at something that is not carrying that baggage from the past. It's not something that has a pre-established history of, dark mysteries and, questionable tactics and things like that. So I think that, I really would count this as better because it's short, to the point, more inventive probably than Abandoned by Disney, if, I can use my own bias and say that, something is inventive, and doesn't rely on an existing corporation. I mean, in my previous video about Better Than Abandoned by Disney, I talked about the Donational Project, which was a veiled reference to Google. And, that's yet another thing. And as you can see, I love me them companies. I love them corporate villains, so it seems to be a theme, I guess, in these stories. But as I said, I think it's a bit better to go with something original. I would encourage everybody out there, do what you want, write what makes you happy, write how makes you happy. That's not a good sentence. But, just write what you love, write the way you love to write. Read, attention, Goodshop customers. I don't fucking know. I'm not here to give advice. I'm not here to sound positive. Listen, we're all going to die.